Fabulous tickets on board the Bravo, the cruise are performing and sometime during our show before 9 o'clock we'll be putting a call out for someone who has registered online to call us in within 10 minutes. You don't even have to answer a question, but you need to be listening out. You need to call in within 10 minutes and then if you do that, will go into the draw for those fabulous tickets for the cruise.
Ripper.
Includes flights as well, and it all happens in October this year.
6:36.
Yeah, well, you think about the global financial crisis, and one of the things that helped Australia get through it was our vast natural resources, our mineral resources, and when you look at the growing middle class in China, as that country has become much more affluent, one thing that has underpinned the success of the Australian economy historically over the last 10 to 15 years has been the demand for iron ore from Australia. Over the ditch in New Zealand, their economy, and this is something that I'd never really thought of, but when you travel and you're sitting in a hotel lobby overseas, so often you see little foil sachets of New Zealand butter. The New Zealand economy is so spectacularly dependent on its dairy industry that for a long time, New Zealand, like Australia with iron, was chugging along beautifully off the back of dairy. Well, what has happened now is that a worldwide collapse in the price of milk is actually threatening to drive our Kiwi mates into a formal recession. Joining us now to discuss this is our Friday regular, our good friend Selwyn Manning, the editor of EveningReport.nz. Selwyn, this is a remarkable turnaround and a pretty disturbing one for the New Zealand economy, all off the back of the milk price.
Yeah, it is, Dave, and you're exactly right on all those points and leading in. There are so many similarities between, where your country positioned and where New Zealand has positioned on its primary commodities. Thursday morning, Dave, it saw the price of export milk powder collapse at the GlobalDairyTrade auction. And it wiped off 13.5% of its break-even value and sank down to a 6-year low. Now, only a year ago, the New Zealand government was celebrating record milk exports in the country, and it called it white gold. Things were so good. It was our saviour during the global financial crisis, particularly like you alluded to, with the increasing demand in the Chinese consumer markets. But this year, it costs farmers more to produce milk than they're getting in return, and farmers are having to go to the banks to balance their books. Now, it's all due to the global oversupply of dairy products. In particular, Europe, New Zealand and the United States have been producing record amounts of milk product, and that's what's causing big problems. And also a downturn in the consumption of milk in China, and Russia has been banning the import of milk product into its giant economy there too. So these are the big problems. And what we saw yesterday, Dave, was Fonterra, which is New Zealand's dairy products export giant and has reach into most economies in the Western countries, but also significantly into China. Now, it was forced to lay off 500 staff in New Zealand alone. And news of the milk commodity collapse also caused the New Zealand dollar to fall to a 6-year low, and that is New Zealand dollar is now trading at 65.08 US cents. Now, that may spur on a bit of a recovery or a bit of relief relating to the amount of money that farmers get back from their exports, but it's still seen to be teetering on the brink of driving New Zealand down into recession.
Jeez.
It's incredible. And look, meanwhile in Auckland, there's been a no-holds-barred search for not a child or, some valuable thing. It's been a big search for a missing pig.
Yeah, missing pig. That shows you we're an agricultural nation. We must make national news, doesn't it? I mean, it was the police, members of the public, animal management, and even the media were pulled in to try and hunt for this pig that had escaped. Now, apparently the police were alerted to sightings of this long white pig. That's the common ones that we often see, around. Now, the pig was seen trotting along a busy West Auckland road. Concerned motorists, they thought the pig looked lost. Despite a thorough search for the pig, it seemed to have disappeared. The mystery of the wandering long white then made national news at the New Zealand Herald, which, despite the economic reportage, it must have been a fairly low news day perhaps. But by evening, that media attention paid off and the mystery was solved. The pig's name, I can report, Jane, is Ryena.
I thought you were going to say Miss Piggy.
And apparently she manages to sneak out of her paddock every couple of days, and Ryena is known to enjoy also of breaking into a nearby house. But if the house is really locked up and boarded up, she sometimes trots off for a bit of a stroll. And apparently the sow's companion last night, or yesterday afternoon, this dog called Bailey, an 8-year-old Labrador, noticed that Ryena was missing. He sniffed her out, apparently, and brought her back, herded her back to the paddock. So there you go, there's a nice end.
So the pig and the dog are mates?
So, they're absolute mates, apparently, and they look after each other in different ways.
I can see a movie coming out of this.
It sounds like a sort of bigger version of Babe.
Yeah, but before I do go, I wanted just to say, good stuff with the Australian cricket team. They're fantastic.
Oh, thanks, mate.
And if you're going to win, isn't it great to win at Lords?
Oh, absolutely. You guys had
out on that recently.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I was cheering you guys on a few weeks ago, but hopefully you softened them up a bit for us. Good on you, Selwyn Manning, editor of EveningReport.nz. Always great to talk to you. Thanks, mate.
6:41. This is FiveAA.